Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Justin Kocher. I'm the Director of International Business Development for Jobs Ohio. I'd like to welcome you all to the first Innovation in High-Tech Global Supply Chain seminar that we're having today. I'd like to thank also our hosts, the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, the Taiwan Economic and Cultural Office, and TTC. We're excited about today's program, and we have some really interesting and exciting speakers lined up for you today. First of which, I'd like to introduce former Congressman Steve Stivers, who is the President and CEO of the Ohio Chamber of Commerce. He is, the Chamber of Commerce is the state's leading pro-business organization. He works with legislators, business leaders, and government officials every day on issues affecting Ohio Chamber of Commerce members. Prior to joining the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Stivers represented Ohio's 15th Congressional District from 2011 until 2021. Mr. Stivers.
Thanks, Justin. It's great to be with everybody. Let me see if I can do this right. Zawan Ina Hao. Hopefully I just said good morning. I'd like to welcome the Taiwan U.S. Business Roundtable Forum here to the Ohio Chamber, here to Columbus, and here to Ohio. We're so glad that we could host you today. We're so glad that you could join us. There are many business people here that already have a presence in Ohio, in the Buckeye State. And for that, we want to say thank you. And for those who don't yet have a presence in Ohio, we want you to know Ohio is a very welcome place, and we look forward to doing business with you. I see my former colleague, Steve Shabbat, is here, who's on the Foreign Affairs Committee and a great friend of Taiwan. Great to see you, Steve. Congressman, good to see you. During my time in Congress, I worked on a lot of bills that impacted Taiwan, including the Taiwan Travel Act that encouraged more visits between the U.S. and Taiwanese officials. Obviously, COVID got in the way of that, but hopefully we can start to do more travel soon. But it's great to have so many people here today. With the announcement of Intel coming to Ohio, a $20 billion chip facility in Ohio, we're working to build a semiconductor ecosystem in Ohio, something Taiwan knows a lot about. TSMC, the biggest chip manufacturer in the world, 56% of all chips are made in Taiwan, has an incredible ecosystem in Taiwan around the support for building microchips. And we want to work with the Director General, the Ambassador, and with all of you to welcome a lot of those companies to Ohio as we build the ecosystem for Intel right here in Ohio. But it's more than microchips. Ohio is a place where we build things, and we're excited about that. And we are a state that is welcoming to business, a state that has a great business climate, and we want to make sure that today you have great conversations about what's available in Ohio and how you can invest in Ohio. We want to make sure there's more foreign direct investment from Taiwan into Ohio. We want to make sure that Ohio companies are doing business with businesses in Taiwan as well. It's a two-way relationship that we look forward to focusing on and expanding partnerships today. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world today, and it's great to have a country that we know is a democracy in Asia, that shares our values, that shares our beliefs, and that has an incredible innovation and work ethic, just an incredible partner for the United States. And I think Taiwan is the 8th largest trading partner of the United States, and we want to make it number 1 or number 2. So that's what today's about. There are so many ties between Taiwan and the United States, 148 sister city agreements between cities in Taiwan and here in Ohio, and a lot of business relationships. Today is about expanding those business relationships, exploring what is possible. We are so happy to host you, but I want you to know today's the beginning. It's not the end. So let's continue the conversations even after today's over. I want to thank Director General Chang for coming to us with the idea of working on this. We talked in February about this, and it's great to see this come to fruition, and it came to fruition pretty quickly. So it didn't take too long, and our staff and our businesses in Ohio are excited to welcome you today and in the future. So thank you so much, and I look forward to a productive day that is the beginning of a lot of deep business relationships. And Ambassador, we are so thrilled that you are here. It says a lot that you sent the Ambassador of the United States here to be at this event. And welcome, thank you, and we look forward to a long, prosperous relationship between Ohio companies and Taiwanese companies. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to the Chamber.
Thank you, Mr. Stivers. Next, I'd like to welcome my friend and colleague, Mr. Ted Griffith, the Managing Director of Technology at Jobs Ohio. Mr. Griffith has been the Managing Director for many years, longer than I've been at Jobs Ohio, and he previously worked for 21 years at Hewlett-Packard throughout both Asia and Europe. During his time, he held various leadership positions in sales operations, supply chain, managed IT services, and he's gained deep knowledge in consumer and commercial marketplaces. And Mr. Griffith is currently working closely with the Intel Corporation on the project, which has become the largest in Ohio's history. Mr. Griffith?
Well, good morning, everyone here, and good evening to those online. Thank you for joining from Asia as well. Thank you, Justin, for that kind intro, and thank you, former Congressman Stivers, for your leadership and hosting today for the Ohio Chamber. Very important. And by the way, I share your enthusiasm for building the ecosystem here in Ohio, and thank you, Ambassador Xiao, for joining us today. Very, very special. This is a special day for me because I've been visiting Taiwan now many times over the last several years, meeting with companies up and down the coast in different cities, and visiting the Technology Innovation Center in Taiwan called eTree. Unbelievable. It's really, really cool there, and so much opportunity. And what I've observed is common themes between Ohio and Taiwan. Manufacturing excellence, entrepreneurship, technology innovation, and really hardworking citizens. The connections and the culture match to me is very, very good. And I believe that the opportunity for Taiwanese companies to grow and thrive in Ohio is boundless. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And I like Congressman Stivers' comment that this is the beginning. And the conversation continues, and we invite Taiwanese companies to continue discussing with us at Jobs Ohio, and let us help you find a place to land here. So thank you for coming today, and looking forward to the conversation.
Thanks, Ted. Next, I'd like to welcome Director General Johnson Chang of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office, TECO, in Chicago, our co-host for today's event. Director General Chang arrived in Chicago in January of 2021. The Director General received his master's degree from the Graduate Institute of International Law and Diplomacy at National Cheng Chi University, and also attended Harvard University as well. Before assuming his duties as the head of TECO in Chicago, he was the Director General of European Affairs and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Director General?
Good morning. Well, thank you so much for being with us. First of all, I want to appreciate the great support from Ohio State government, from Jobs Ohio, for Ohio Chamber of Commerce, especially leadership under and President Stivers and your great team. And I was very impressed by the efficiency and professionalism and friendship from your colleagues to make our event a success. And I also want to signify the speakers across from business, from governments, and academics to join our panel discussion today to make our conversation more connected and also pluralistic. I also want to thank Ambassador Xiao coming from Washington, D.C. to join us. She is the key person in our bilateral trade dialogues with the U.S. government in a lot of areas, such as especially on high-tech supply chains, which is our topic today, ranging from AI, 5G wireless, EV, semiconductor manufacturing. So we hope that today's event can provide more opportunities for Taiwan business to get closer with Ohio, and also providing more incentives to enhance our economic partnership with the U.S., such as Taiwan to be included in the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum initiated by Washington. So thank you so much for being with us. Looking forward to join your discussion. Thank you.
Our next speaker unfortunately couldn't be present with us here today. He sent a video, which we will watch here shortly. Mr. Rick Waters is the Deputy Assistant Secretary for China, Taiwan, and Mongolia for the Bureau of East Asian and Pacific Affairs for the U.S. Department of State. In this role, he supervises the Office of the Chinese-Mongolian Affairs and Taiwan Coordination Staff, and he has day-to-day responsibilities for the U.S. diplomatic missions in China, Mongolia, and the relationship with the American Institute in Taipei.
Hi, my name is Rick Waters. I'm Deputy Assistant Secretary here at the State Department. On behalf of Secretary Blinken, let me offer our greetings to participants of the Taiwan-U.S. Business Roundtable in the Midwest. It is my distinct honor to be joining you from Washington today. The COVID-19 pandemic brought home just how much the U.S. and Taiwan economies are interconnected. Semiconductor shortages have highlighted the critical role these chips play in our society. And this shortage put a spotlight on Taiwan as a leader in high-tech global supply chains. Despite the many challenges posed by COVID, our economic relationship has thrived as we exceeded $100 billion in bilateral trade in recent years. Taiwan is now our 8th largest trading partner. The U.S. government is working to support this growth in several ways. Over the past 6 months, we've had a number of economic engagements. In November, we held the second U.S.-Taiwan Economic Prosperity Partnership Dialogue. During that dialogue, we and our Taiwan counterparts discussed how best to facilitate two-way trade and investment. One particular area of focus was on strengthening the security of semiconductors and other critical supply chains. In doing so, our goal is to counter economic coercion by the PRC, bolster the digital economy, and advance 5G network security. Another example, last June, the U.S. Trade Representative restarted the U.S.-Taiwan Trade Investment Framework Agreement talks. This dialogue focuses on economic cooperation and enhancing opportunities for trade and investment. But our friendship with Taiwan goes deeper than just the bilateral economic relationship. Earlier this year, we renewed our focus on expanding two-way educational exchange through the U.S.-Taiwan Education Initiative. By helping the next generation of business leaders acquire important language skills, we further strengthen our commercial and people-to-people ties. Beyond the unofficial relationship, Taiwan plays an important role on the global stage. Russia's invasion of Ukraine shows the risk of rising authoritarianism and the fundamental challenge it poses to the international order that underpins a prosperous international business community. Managing this dangerous moment requires even closer cooperation with like-minded partners such as Taiwan. As President Biden told the American people in February, liberty, democracy, and human dignity are the forces far more powerful than fear and oppression. It is now more important than ever for the United States, Taiwan, and like-minded democracies to stand together and show our resolve. We appreciate Taiwan's strong partnership in working with the international community to impose costs on Russia for launching an unprovoked war. On behalf of the U.S. government, I wish you a successful conference. I know you will continue to deepen our strong economic and people-to-people ties. Thank you.
Some sobering words from Mr. Waters there. Next, I'd like to welcome Congressman Steve Chabot from the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressman Chabot has proudly served Ohio's 1st Congressional District for 24 years. Since becoming a member of Congress, Congressman Chabot has served on the Committee on the Judiciary, the Committee on Small Business, and Committee on Foreign Affairs. Congressman Chabot currently serves as the ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Asia, the Pacific, Central Asia, and Nonproliferation. Congressman Chabot.
Thank you very much, and I'll be brief. And I want to thank everyone for being here and for being invited to speak briefly. And I want to thank my colleague Steve Stivers first. Steve and I served for about a decade in Congress together. It was his first time when we got elected back in 2010. My second time because I had lost 2 years before that. And so we came in together. Steve, by the way, is also a two-star general in the National Guard and served in Iraq. And so we always looked up to him for that reason and a whole range of reasons. So it's great to be here today. And now he's obviously with the Ohio Chamber, which is a very important position, a lot more important than being a member of Congress. So. And I also want to thank Ambassador B. Kim, who's a longtime friend. I first was elected back in '94, and after being here for a couple of years, we formed the Congressional Taiwan Caucus, 4 members of Congress, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and one of the other, the Democrat, by the way, was Sherrod Brown, who's now one of the senators. So half of those that formed the Congressional Taiwan Caucus were from the great state of Ohio. So I think that's pretty cool. Now, he's over in the Senate now. I stayed in the House where we get things done. So anyway, but Ambassador B. Kim is just tremendous. She's such a tremendous person. And having served in the legislature there, in Congress, the Yuan, she knows from all aspects. And so we've been involved in working together for a long, long time. And as you all know, and as was already mentioned, Ohio really is poised to become a powerhouse in the tech field, and whether it's Intel's decision, as we know, to locate a major plant here, or so many other things, this is really where it's happening. And I could talk about a whole bunch of things, but there's one of the principal pieces of legislation, which I did want to mention, is the CHIPS for America Act. Which I'm hoping that passes. It is part of a larger bill, which is more controversial, and in the Senate it was bipartisan, this overall bill, and so it's a good bill. In the House it tended to be more partisan, and so what happens when you have a bill in the House and the Senate that aren't exactly the same? Then you have a conference committee that comes together to try to work out the details, and I'm happy to say, because I'm the lead Republican or ranking member on the Asia and Pacific Subcommittee, I was appointed as one of the conferees, and so we'll be trying to negotiate an agreement which we can actually pass in both bodies and that the President will sign into law, because I think it's really, really important. And Taiwan is such a strong ally of the United States, and we need to stay together. And I mentioned when we formed the Congressional Taiwan Caucus, we had more and more members over the years that has grown, and it came to the point where we were the second largest out of all the country caucuses. The largest was India. Now, of course, India has over 1 billion people, and Taiwan is, 23 million or so? And I'm happy to say that finally the Congressional Taiwan Caucus surpassed India. It's the largest caucus now. So I was really happy when that happened. Now, in full disclosure, I'm also co-chair not only of the Congressional Taiwan Caucus, but also I'm co-chair of the Congressional India Caucus also. So I like them both, but I like Taiwan better. But don't tell them that. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Chabot. Next, I would like to welcome Ambassador Xiao, the representative of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Representative Office in Washington, D.C. Representative Xiao assumed her position as Taiwan's representative to the United States in July of 2020, after she was serving as the senior advisor to the president at the National Security Council of Taiwan. Representative Xiao previously served 4 terms in the Taiwan legislature, where she was ranking member of the Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee. Ambassador Xiao.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. For transparency purposes, I want to explain my mask, and that is last night I had a sore throat and cough, but I tested negative. I just want to explain this so that if anyone wants to stay 6 feet away from me, I won't feel offended. It's perfectly understandable. But I'm just so glad to be here today, and thank you all for the kind introductions. For me, coming to Ohio is coming back, because I went to school in Ohio, in the liberal arts college, Oberlin College, up near Cleveland. I can say those were the most exciting years of my life. But at the same time, it provided me the opportunity to meet Sherrod Brown and Steve Chabot, who later co-founded the Taiwan Caucus in Congress. And of course, coming back here to this state, aside from these personal connections and memories and good friends like Steve Chabot, who has been one of the most reliable voices supporting Taiwan in Congress for decades. In my new job, of course, representing Taiwan in Washington, we also have a strong interest in deepening our economic and political partnership with Ohio. In a broader sense, our relationship with the United States is based on shared values and common interests. Those shared values are freedom and democracy that are so important to our lifestyle, to our daily lives. Our common interests are prosperity and security of the Indo-Pacific region. And so based on these shared values and common interests, we have a lot on our plate. And Steve Waters from the State Department just shared with you some of the existing mechanisms and platforms in which we are further fortifying our economic partnership. But let me quickly also go over some of them that might also be of interest to you. First, he mentioned the TIFA talks, and this is a dialogue between our trade ministers. Ideally, Taiwan would seek to pursue a bilateral trade agreement with the United States, although some friends in Washington are telling us that the American people are not so much in favor of trade agreements these days, but let's work on it. We believe trade agreements with democracies, trade agreements between economic partners that complement each other in so many ways will actually create jobs and benefit the people in both our countries. Taiwan has, over the years of democratization, also advanced domestically in creating high labor standards, as well as respect for basic human rights, those same values that are important for workers in the United States. Besides, our economies complement each other in so many ways. The Intel has been mentioned here, and I want to congratulate Ohio for getting Intel this very important project and investment here in the state of Ohio. In Taiwan, TSMC has been a giant in Taiwan, but less known internationally until supply chains were disrupted during COVID. And now the world better appreciates the invisible giant that Taiwan has been in terms of our critical economic role in global supply chains. So we are working on further deepening our bilateral trade. A second platform that was initiated by the State Department during Secretary Pompeo's days and has continued carried on by Secretary Blinken's leadership. And I'm very pleased to say that support in Washington for Taiwan has been very much bipartisan. In fact, support for the partnership with Taiwan is one of the few areas where the current administration is proud to say there is continuity. And so going across different administrations, we want to build on this relationship and strengthen it in as many ways as possible. Now, this dialogue is called the Economic Prosperity and Partnership Dialogue, and it addresses a number of important issues, such as supply chain security, trusted 5G and communications networks. It addresses infrastructure, market financing. It addresses investment screening, so we can welcome investment that is positive, that supports the protection of technology and job creation, but we also have to be wary of malign intentions from states that don't respect the same global rules of doing business. So investment screening has been an important part also of our bilateral partnership. Of course, science and technology cooperation has also played an important role in this State Department-initiated platform. The third platform is a newer one that was co-initiated by Secretary Raimondo and the Economics Minister Wang Meihua of Taiwan, called the Technology, Trade, and Investment Collaboration Initiative. And that will involve the private sector. We are yet to have our first larger gathering, but I certainly look forward to fostering a greater momentum in technology trade. And a couple of important events will be coming up this year. The Select USA that Commerce has hosted for many years, and Taiwan historically has made ourselves the largest global delegation taking part in the Select USA Summit, which is a platform for businesses to mix and match, find opportunities for collaboration. And after a deep disruption by COVID, we look forward to resuming this summit this June, involving, hopefully, again, a large delegation from Taiwan. Now, our delegations plan to spread out to different states, including Ohio, after the summit. And again, we will be reaching out to you to forge those platforms for new business opportunities. Another important event that Taiwan will be hosting for the first time is a Grand Expo Taiwan in Washington, D.C., where we will showcase a number of products and technologies made in Taiwan in Washington. This will be the first national expo that we're having here, and it will be in October. We hope to welcome you. Also, the state representatives of Ohio that are present in Washington, D.C. I'm told that we will be shipping an entire electrical vehicle to the expo at the Ronald Reagan Center. So there is a lot of momentum. A lot is happening in our partnership, but it always does require more work. And after all, Taiwan is in a very unique international situation in which the geopolitics of the world at times put constraints and limitations, and that we have to work harder than anyone else in D.C. Sometimes I feel that as an ambassador in D.C., my job is distinct from everyone else, because for us, it's not business as usual. For Taiwan, it's a matter of survival. But I think on the economic front, Ohio and Taiwan have so much in common. Size-wise, you're a lot bigger. I'm told you Ohio is 3 times the size of Taiwan. But I think what we have in common, and it was just mentioned also that the spirit, the hardworking spirit, entrepreneurship, innovation, but also mainly we are both societies that emphasize smart manufacturing. And as we move into the age of Industry 4.0, into robotics, manufacturing actually involves high-end technology. It also involves important collaboration in international supply chains. And in that spirit, we do hope to further deepen this very important relationship with Ohio. And finally, as Ohio is venturing into the semiconductor realm, it took Taiwan 30 years to build the semiconductor ecosystem that today makes Taiwan so competitive on a global level. This ecosystem sometimes is overlooked as our eyes are on the giants. The giants, they get all the attention. But the semiconductor industry is not only about Intel or TSMC. It's about thousands of other small, medium-sized companies. They're suppliers from design to materials to packaging and testing. thousands of companies that have an important role to play in supporting this critical industry for future technology. And it's just so important that, again, democracies need to work with each other. I think we all have an interest in diversifying to the extent that we are less vulnerable to authoritarian revisionist states using economic leverage for political coercion. And so by deepening those ties with fellow democracies through mechanisms such as bilateral trade agreements, investment projects, I think we are making our society safer and more prosperous. So thank you again for having us, and it's such an honor and a pleasure to be here. And I do want to give my sincere thanks to the Ohio Chamber of Commerce and Congressman Stivers, my old friend of about 30 years now, Steve Shabbat, and the TECO team led by Johnson here, and all of their efforts in this, and of course, Jobs Ohio. I think we're all into creating high quality, good jobs for all of the freedom-loving people in our societies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ambassador. Those were great words, and we are very excited to receive a delegation of Taiwanese companies here prior to Select USC in June. Next, I'd like to invite our first panelist up for session one. Session one is going to be focused really sort of on the policy implications that impact innovation and high-tech global supply chains. So please, I'd like to invite our guest up now, and Mr. Griffith here will be the moderator for the first session.
As our panel comes here, I'll tell you a little bit about what we have planned here. This session is going to be focused on high-tech innovation policy, and we have 6 panelists. You see 4 of them here, and 2 of them are online in Taiwan. And again, we thank you for those in Taiwan for spending your evening with us. Who we have today is, in Taiwan, we have the president of AmCham Taiwan, Andrew Wailogela, and Eddie Liu, assistant vice president of EV Power Group at Akbel Polytech. And then here in front of us, we have Dr. Jay Lee, board member of Foxconn and professor at our University of Cincinnati. And the students of Ohio are very lucky to have your wisdom there with you. And then Ambassador Xiao, who we just heard from, is with us. Thank you. And State Senator Rulli is joining us. He's chairman of the Small Business and Economic Opportunity Committee. And then Jimmy Yang, who's president of American Kenda Rubber Industrial. So we will start with Andrew. Each panelist will have something to share, and then we'll have some questions and Q&A. Andrew, we'll start with you online, if you'd like to share your words. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much. It's wonderful to be with this group and friends from Ohio, and Jobs Ohio in particular, an organization that I connected with many times over my career as a Foreign Service commercial officer, often competing with those big delegations from Taiwan to Select USA that the ambassador mentioned. It was always a tough struggle for us. But it's a real honor to join you and to be on a panel and a program with the caliber of leadership of Representative Shabbat, of State Senator Rulli, and of course Ambassador Kim. I made a point that Taiwan, as strong as it is right now, has opportunity to more fully engage the business community, and I would include the 525 member firms of AmCham Taiwan in that there's still greater potential to be realized. And that will be realized by appreciating the relationship we have, committing to strengthening it, and in particular, the focus of today's program, strengthening the supply chains that unite us. We already are on, I've been in my position now about a year, and in this short time, I've already seen tremendous progress. It's borne out in the trade and investment growth that took place over very difficult circumstances of 2021 with the COVID, with the trade tensions. We still saw Taiwan's economy growing at the fastest rate in 11 years, over 6%. It was borne out in a recent business climate survey by the members of our chamber, in which over 90% were positive about their prospects to grow their revenues in 2022. It's also been spurred on, I think, the growth in this relationship by the actions that are taking place in the United States. The representative mentioned the important work on the USICA, or America Competes bill, that he's a critical part to bringing over to the goal line. The exciting things that are happening right in your neighborhood with Intel's investment, but of course Taiwan's important contributions to this supply chain renaissance, if you will, that's going on from as nearby as what Foxconn is doing up the road from you in Lordstown to as far away as Phoenix and TSMC's huge investments. So we're setting the stage for much more to come, but we will undershoot our potential if we don't seize the moment. And I would take just a couple of minutes to list, if I may, a half dozen things that I think will bring the relationship up to an even higher gear. First, I firmly believe that on the macro level, we do have to set the framework to call greater attention to this partnership. And the ambassador went through many of the key pillars of that. Our approach at the chamber is to put all of that together. And the initiative we deemed the Taiwan Commercial Initiative does just that. It says the TIFA talks, those bilateral talks are very important. The partnership dialogue is. We need to push ahead and put some energy behind the idea of a double taxation agreement. We need to get Taiwan as a full partner in the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework Agreement. And a lot of these things can pull us together towards that goal, which still remains the Chamber's goal, and that is the realization of an FTA, or a bilateral trade agreement. Another thing that will help us is, as soon as is feasibly possible, getting back to full consular normalization. We need to jumpstart the people-to-people engagement between the U.S. and Taiwan that has been limited by COVID over the past few years. The third thing I think we need to do is keep calling attention and cheerleading about this tremendous relationship that we enjoy. And we at the Chamber, again, joining with another important think tank, the East-West Center, and also our friends at TECO, Washington, D.C., were huge contributors to a very compact but important document known as Taiwan Matters for America, America Matters for Taiwan. We need to keep drumming this message that the Taiwan caucus in the Congress has been such an important part of as well. We need to strengthen PPPs, private-public partnerships. And one of the important initiatives that Ambassador Shao mentioned was the technology trade and investment collaboration between the two trade ministries. And it ties in, again, with the themes and the sectors that you're working on, semiconductors and EVs in particular, but also 5G and cyber, sustainable energy, and strengthening the supply chains through foreign direct investment in both directions. And AmCham is going to be a part of additional public-private partnerships, for example, one in sustainable energy that will be rolling out in summer. And with EVs as an important pillar in that campaign, again, Ohio as a tremendous base of the EV value chain is a group we'd love to call upon and learn what you're doing with battery technology and chemicals and the like to build out a robust ecosystem. We have a tremendous coincidence of interest just at the time that the U.S. is getting ready and has a wake-up call and has this supply chain renaissance underway is the exact time where Taiwan companies, for their own interests, are realizing the need to expand overseas. So this is a very happy coincidence of interest, if you will, as Taiwan companies move up the value chain, as they get closer to their customers in North America, Europe, and Asia, and as they move from a contract manufacturer to a systems supplier to an OEM and a branded solutions provider. This is a wonderful development. And the last piece I would mention, again, was already foreshadowed by the keynote remarks. It's not just about the multinationals, it's about the SMEs, small and mediums. It's about the first-time foreign investors from Taiwan, of which there are many that are going to be heading over. And so I really want to applaud the work of Jobs Ohio, the Chamber, Select USA and their event in June, Titra's work in October. The Chamber would like to be a part of that. We'd be like to be a part of the orientation and the skills building that will help these companies not only land in the U.S. but stay there and thrive. And it's great to have Representative Shabbat with his leadership on the Small Business Committee, Senator Rulli as well, championing this kind of work. So AmCham wants to stand with all of you in that very healthy dynamic. So if I may just to wrap up and conclude and say it's a golden era for Taiwan. It's a golden era for Taiwan-U.S. collaboration. But at the same time, this is not the point to rest on our laurels. There are obstacles to overcome. We need to really push to realize the full potential. So I look forward to following the rest of the discussion this morning, and thank you again for calling on the Chamber to be part of this wonderful initiative.
Thank you, Andrew. Great words. Eddie Liu, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Please share.
Okay. So, Senator Rulli, Ambassador Shaw, and all the distinguished guests, good morning. I'm Eddie Liu, the AVP of AgBell Electronic Vehicle Power Group. Yes, EV. So my business unit now is supplying automotive power electronic devices for xEV in global market. So let's talk about the market for EVs. The global xEV market size is projected to grow from 6.5 million vehicles in 2021 to 33 million vehicles by 2030. Well, that's a CAGR of over 25%. Factors such as government supporting long-range zero-emission vehicles through subsidies and tax rebates have driven the manufacturers to provide electrical vehicles all around the world. This has led to a growing demand for EVs in the market. Countries around the world now all have set up targets for emission reductions. So also, increasing investment by government and industries across global to develop EV charging stations, along with the incentives offered to the buyers, will also drive the sales volume of xEV. The market in Asia Pacific is projected to experience a steady growth owing to the high demand for low cost and low emission vehicles. While the North America and Europe market is fast growing as well due to the government initiative and the growing of high performance passenger vehicle segment. However, with the influence of COVID-19, so automotive production has been significantly impacted by months of complete lockdown in many countries due to the pandemic. With manufacturing shutdown all around the world and logistic issues, vehicle sales were with significant drop. So, however, with the loosening of pandemic prevention policies, most automakers now have begun to resume full vehicle production. So therefore, compared to 2020, the sales of the EVs in 2021 is with exciting growth of 108%. So besides the strong demands for EV markets, we also see three major technical trends in the power electronics for xEV. First, the application of wide bandgap semiconductors, such as silicon carbide and gallium nitride, has been applied to many vehicle EV now, including traction motors, components including traction motors, the DC-DC converters, and the onboard chargers. Wide bandgap semiconductors are delivering higher efficiency and the capability to downsize those components. Second, the powertrain integration design started from the most basic mechanical integration, immediately after the control level, and finally to the integration of electrical components. So advanced in analog and embedded computing technologies now allow a designer to combine these systems using a single domain controller in the power stage. This will help designers to increase those component efficiency and the reliability while reducing costs. Third, the AI in cars. But autonomous driving is now very, very hot topic in automotive industry. The commercialization of AI autonomous driving is now under development. But the application of AI will not only for autonomous driving. Through AI, deep learning, machine learning, and other applications in the electrical power systems, we expect it can be quickly find the optimized combination of design parameters and shorten the time to product design and development in powertrain for SEV. So in the long run, the EV industry is definitely a blue ocean worth investing. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. And Dr. Lee, what would you like to share with us today?
Can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think when we're talking about EV industry, it is a different type of ecosystem, right? You can say anything you want, but I want to summarize a very simple way. A, B, C, D, E, F, right? I'm a professor, so I make sure what I say you can remember. AI, autonomous system. It got to be. It's to help people, right? Not just to drive without people. That's your option. B, battery. Battery. So you have all kinds of battery technology, materials, and we have a solid-state battery now under development right now. Many companies are producing them. I'll be visiting a very good company in Silicon Valley next week, solid-state battery company, right? So this is a very good production system in the US, right? C, no-brainer, right? Was connectivity, chips, right? And charging station. Those are critical, and even cloud. So you look at the C business, connectivity, or like your iPhone, right? So we in Fastcom, our founder used to be talk about say, EV is nothing but iPhone plus 4 wheels, right? Basically, it's an electronic smart platform, which has a connectivity from all kind of connection, right? Now OTA, over the air download, like your iPhone, even more greater than iPhone actually, right? So, and D, very important, display and data. EV is a data-centric digital platform. It provides a lot of digital economy. After EV driving on the road, if the state of Ohio, Columbus City Mayor want to ask, which road should I repair first? I know exactly where it is because I know where's bumpy. I don't need anybody tell me. My data can show which road should I pave first, right? Evidence, not just experience. Right? E, very important, right? It's electrical and electronics. Electrical, like we talk about drive, motor, power, and electronics. We have silicon carbide, which is give the high power and the packaging, right, for the chips, third category, and gallium nitride. Those are the new category of chips going to be more and more popular for onboard charging and also inverter, right? And finally, F. Of course, F could be mean Fastcom, but really, really about. The F really mean it's a fun technology. Fun. EV is quiet. I can make a digital sound, like a Harley Davidson if you want, right? I can make sound like all kind of things. I can make a lighting change based on the mood you want to drive. If you're sad, I give a new lighting, OTA, download, finished. So A, B, C, D, E, F. You look at how big industry. If EV industry you have a 30 million by 2030, right? That's about several $100 billion industry. The ecosystem multiplied by 10. That's how big it can be. That's my. Yeah.
I appreciate the focus on technologies for a purpose. Yeah. That's a great theme.
Yeah.
Before I keep going, I just want to make sure everyone here, if you have questions that are coming up in your mind as you're listening, jot them down because we'll have an opportunity for asking the panel. And that is true for those online as well. So, Ambassador, what else would you like to share with us?
Well, I thought I gave my input, but just let me add that I think Taiwan is also going through a major industrial transformation, and that is for decades, Taiwanese businesses or outward moving investment and capital had focused on a cost down approach. And that's what drew them to Southeast Asia, to China, where they calculated lower costs. But I think this transformation involves a transition into a capital-intensive approach rather than a cost-down approach. And therefore, there's a renewed interest in investments and coming to the United States. If 10 years ago, Taiwan capital movement involved what we call in Taiwan a westward movement, I think there's a new eastward movement going on, and you are east for us. And that is Taiwanese companies, why do they come here to the United States? They come here for the market, they come here for the technology, and they come here for the talent. And so I think these are three core areas that we work on in terms of attraction for Taiwanese businesses. But having said that, I also have to say that most Taiwanese businesses, although the international community tends to focus on the big names, the giants, like Foxconn's one of them, but others too. But the backbone of our economy is mainly the SMEs, the small, medium-sized enterprises. And not all of them have the capacity to do research on the 50 states, comparing the advantages, disadvantages, the ecosystem for various industries. So, for example, I get inquiries from Taiwanese businesses saying, well, I want to invest in steel. Where should I go? I want to have food processing in the United States. Where do I go? Or, I want to make tires. Where do I go? And each state has its own advantages, disadvantages, but we don't have a mechanism where small, medium-sized enterprises that don't have the gigantic global-level consulting companies, or they don't necessarily can afford such companies doing their to go through all of their business calculations. So I think it's incredibly important that as we move ahead, that states like Ohio, that has a strong manufacturing foundation, also consider setting up offices, a representative in Taiwan. That will help to facilitate the information flow. It will help to engage, be that contact person for Taiwanese businesses who want to move into the United States to ask their questions, to have that presence, to have the platform. I think a second point I want to make is that one characteristic of Taiwanese businesses is that they've always been nimble and flexible. I see some of my Taiwanese American friends here with a cat warrior mask on, and in contrast to the Beijing wolf warriors, I like to call myself a cat warrior. Not just because cats are cute, but because cats have the characteristic of being nimble, adaptable, flexible, and cats they balance well, they can survive in harsh environments. And sometimes they show up in unexpected places too. So, and I think that's the spirit of Taiwanese businesses. And we're always adapting, always changing. But I think we are at a moment here in the post-COVID, global recovery in a geopolitical environment where there's growing interest in a gigantic movement of global supply chains to reconnect between Taiwan and the United States. And in addition to the EVs, semiconductors, and other key industries that have already been mentioned, Taiwan has laid out some other priority areas, including like precision health, climate, renewable energy sectors and technologies. Also, of course, defense and strategic industries, for obvious reasons, are important for us too. And I know you have certain strengths here in Ohio in that regards. So I think there are many opportunities for us to work on, and we do need to grasp the right moment and the chance right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Rulli, you bring a state policy perspective. Please share.
Well, thank you. For me, it's sort of full circle. I can't thank the ambassador enough to share her time with us. In my family, we were raised to be very aware of what's happening on global Earth. And Taiwan has always been a country that I have looked up very, very in high regards because it's always been a beacon of freedom, of being an entrepreneur, of advancing creativity, a country of love like America. And I think it's an honor to do any of the work that we're doing in our future. For me, I got thrown into the EV world about 5 years ago from situations that were happening with the local car manufacturing near Youngstown, Ohio, and Lordstown. And so I started diving into the renaissance of the EV movement. I did notice that in America, we have several states, and they would be Washington State and California, that were really leading the world as far as doing legislation in their state houses that would make it friendly for EV businesses to do business in their states. But I did notice on east of the Mississippi, most of the states were lacking far behind. You had Tennessee or North Carolina or perhaps Michigan or New York that was trying, but I felt the need that we had to have Ohio try harder. So most of my bills in my tenure of the last 3.5 years have been geared towards renewable future, and more importantly, an EV future. I mean, when you have Jaguar say that after 2025, combustional engines will be a thing of the past, and Mary said that GM after 2035, combustional engines will be a thing of the past. I think I found it as my job to help out this industry with this renaissance, and I think that word is perfect for what we have in Ohio. For my personal region, we have the Voltage Valley, which we have the Altium plant, which is going to be building wonderful batteries for the future, and I think they're going to be building Tesla batteries. But for me, more importantly, my relationship and my friendship with Foxconn. I am a huge fan of Foxconn. They sort of helped with the revolution that was going on in my district as far as the Voltage Valley. And there's so many parts of the puzzle that need to be put together. I have had 3 or 4 bills on this subject in particular, and with the help of the Chamber and Clean Fuels Ohio, we dropped a bill about a month and a half ago, which is going to be a tremendous piece of legislation. And what this is going to do is this is going to put a spotlight on the state of Ohio so that the world knows that if you're thinking about doing any aspect of electric vehicles, this should be your home. And there's a lot that we have to do in the State House to live up to that end of our bargain. And that has to make, we have to strip away regulations or perhaps old ways of thinking that are not progressive and are not creative to allow that to happen. In my personal opinion, the most important part of this puzzle is the higher ed part. We have to have a workforce that Foxconn and other companies from Taiwan could come here, and we could have our citizens and our children stay in Ohio and work for these wonderful companies that could save the planet and that could create jobs and have a better life in Ohio. And I think that, I really can't thank the Chamber enough because a lot of guys, there's 132 of us across the street that actually make the laws. And I think an education aspect and a learning curve is happening as we speak. And I think they realize once you get in these vehicles, they're really fascinating and they're fun and they're creative and they make you feel alive. But more importantly, there's a lot of the part of the puzzle that can actually grow. When you look at how we build the batteries, it's still a little prehistoric when you actually pull up and you see these little cylinders with all this lithium. There's a lot of room for advancement. And when you look at the weight of a battery and how it weighs down the actual vehicle from moving, there's a lot in the future that should be done right here in Ohio and places like University of Cincinnati. I have to give a shout out to President Trussell at Youngstown State University because we are getting extremely aggressive right now with the higher ed part of the puzzle. And I'm sure Ohio State and Ohio U and all the great schools that Ohio offers will be at this renaissance. So I think that's probably all I have right now. My office is always open. The legislation that we're going to do in the State House is a living, a breathing, and an evolution of how we're going to make this work. The puzzles don't always come together, and this puzzle is a wonderful flag of Ohio and a flag of Taiwan together, and like almost yin-yang type of a thing. So we look forward to it. We're excited, and we're honored to be your partner.
That's great. Thank you. And I love the comment on higher ed. We might come back to that and get your ideas, Dr. Lee. Jimmy, I understand you're celebrating the 60th anniversary of Kenda Tire. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Please share with us. Very successful company here in Ohio.
Thank you. So first, it is so great to see all my friends here from Columbus, Cincinnati, and also Cleveland. I mean, we see each other pretty regularly, and it's a special occasion, and welcome to Columbus and attending these special events. We have many strong Taiwanese communities here in the state of Ohio. We have a Taiwanese Americans Association. We have a Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Columbus chapters here. And then we also have a North American Women's Association and Taiwanese Student Associations. To make it more special, we even have a Columbus Taiwanese PGA club here. We got a bunch of players pretending we're professional players. So we got that group called Columbus Taiwanese PGA. Okay, but many of our Taiwanese here in the state of Ohio have all very outstanding careers, whether it is in the academic or medicals and the other business. They are all become a very good citizens of America and doing a very outstanding jobs in their careers. So congratulations to all the fellow Taiwanese here in the state of Ohio. Yes, Kenda is entering its 60th anniversary. Our products are ranging from tires for bicycles, power sports, golf carts, of course, and lawn and garden, trailers, and automobile. We here talk a lot about EVs, okay, but here I don't talk about EV, but yes, my industry also related to EV because no matter it is electric bicycles, electric scooters, or electric vehicles with a light truck or passenger cars, they all need tires. As I met President of Taiwan, Tsai Ing-wen, in one conversation, she did mention, she said, Jimmy, your business is certainly benefiting from the electric vehicle business there, right? Because now there are more cars switching from the gas engine to electric, and then no matter what, they all need tires. I said, yes, President, you certainly know it very well. And so she has been a very good advocate of Kenda tires. To make it even more impressive is not only Kenda is celebrating its 60th anniversary, but the Kenda USA is now entering its 40th anniversary. Okay, we talk about Select America. Kenda's been here since 1982. We talk about Select State of Ohio. Kenda's been here in Columbus since 1982. From the originally 4-person companies, and with a great help from my colleagues, most of them are Ohioans, that we are now grow into a more than 600 people companies with an annual turnover of 600 million there. We do have operations in different states, including Pennsylvania, Georgia, Florida, Indiana, California, Missouri, but Columbus is our home state. And Ohio is our home state, and Columbus is where the headquarters is. We've got a bunch of very, very nice, dedicated, intelligent staffs here helping myself managing all these operations to get to be where we are. So thanks, Ohio. You've been very good to Kenda. You've been very good to me and to my family. We do a lot of business with a company here in Ohio, including like American Honda from Marysville, including MTD from Cleveland, Cooper Tire from Findlay, and Ashland Chemicals and Akron Standard, and many other small businesses here from the state of Ohio. We're also dealing with Huntington Bank and the Key Banks, Worthington Steels, Okay, so the state of Ohio has been very good, very important to Canada's business, both from the business side and also from the supply side. To make it more interesting, Canada does sponsor many Ohio-based professional sports teams, including the Columbus Blue Jacket and Columbus Clippers and Cleveland Indians, now called the Guardians, and also Cincinnati Reds. But the three most important and noticeable sponsorship I have done was the 2003 British Open champion Ben Curtis from Australia, and also 2016 NBA champion of Cleveland Cavaliers, and of course the perennial powerhouse of Ohio State Buckeyes. Okay. So, we have a very advanced technology center in Green near Akron. Thanks for Jobs Ohio. And you offered $1 million grant when we start this institution, and continue to come out with very good products meeting the market demands. But Jobs Ohio's investment turned out to be very successful investment, because we have invested 20 times more. Okay, we put more than 20 million investment in this tech center in Green, Ohio, where Ambassador Shaw will be visiting this afternoon. The tech center is very important, very vital for our future future developments as we continue to come up with state-of-the-art products for the market. To meet our theme of premium performance at the value price. Again, Ohio has been very good state. It provides, as Ambassador Shaw says, the market, the resources, the talent, okay, with all these ingredients, Canada, USA has been grown to be where we are. Again, any one of you who does not have operation in Ohio, please come to the States. We welcome you, and if you need any information, any help, please do not be hesitated to come, and I'll be offer all my knowledge and experience to you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we appreciate your investment here and your support for bringing more in. Appreciate that. So now it's your turn. Questions that have come to your mind. We have a very distinguished and wide variety of a panel here to ask. Any questions? Technology, policy. Is there anything online? Okay, no questions online. Yes.
I'm very curious about Taiwan's sort of economic policy. So you talk about AI, and the country is very invested right now in semiconductors, but sort of like the future is software, right? And given the labor shortage in the United States right now, and given how much it costs to hire developers in the U.S., how is Taiwan addressing that in terms of its partnership with the U.S.?
It's a good question. I don't have a definitive answer, but I think we're facing similar challenges, and that is labor shortage. We have a lower than acceptable birth rate, which means we have fewer young people entering the job market also. But I think that's why these global partnerships are so important, so that we can cultivate and involve talent from different societies. And I think especially when it comes to software and R&D, cost is perhaps not the main function. It's not the main consideration. It's the innovation. It's what can be produced that's truly valuable. And I think people in Taiwan are willing to pay big bucks for good talent. But it's important that when you ask about government policy, and that is we do have a role in cultivating that talent. And so supporting educational institutions that produce the talent that meets the demands of the workforce is important. for decades, Taiwanese would go into college and saying, well, I think I will do this, but is it something that the job market demands? And so I think some more integration or connection between industry, academic institutions, as well as government funding to channel the cultivation of that talent. And it's not just the high-end talent. I can say, I'm not a spokesperson for any single company here, but for some Taiwanese companies investing here in the United States, for example, they say, well, we don't have enough mechanics. Where are the mechanics? And we're talking about the need to reinvigorate also vocational education, where certain technical expertise are just critical as a foundation to building further manufacturing. So I think there is like America, we are a market economy. The government can't tell businesses, go into this area, invest here, don't do that, or go to this country, don't go into that country. But what we can do is to create the right infrastructure, the talent cultivation infrastructure, the tax regimes, and that's why the American Chamber of Commerce in Taiwan, President just mentioned ADTA, avoidance of double taxation, for example. We don't have this treaty with the United States, which means that Taiwanese companies operating here have to pay taxes both here and in Taiwan. You have a treaty with China, with many other dozens of countries around the world, but we don't have that status, and sometimes it could be a discouraging factor. So I think as governments, we can work on fostering those incentives that would allow businesses to flow in areas where they see future potential. But you're absolutely right. Talent, investment in expertise in talent, and the education that meets the demand of the job market. I think these are very important aspects.
Dr. Lee, I think you have something.
Yeah, I'd like to add some footnote to echo the comments. I think if you look at industry and the university perspective, right? Let's take chip industry, semiconductor. TSMC has about 15,000 engineers with the 15 years experience. Entire semiconductor ecosystem in Taiwan has about 150,000 engineers. But it's not enough. Last year and this year, total, the worldwide has about 29 fabs been built, each one $10 billion. $300 billion fabs. Each fab need about 1,000 to 1,500 engineers, multiplied by 30, right? U.S. need to catch up quick enough. How we do that? Well, industry and university need to get engaged in. Government can give a policy incentives, but for example, the education program. I heard Taiwan just launched a semiconductor college, which consists of 4 or 5 different schools, Tsinghua and Taiwan, Jiaotong, and etc. So they're trying to educate more engineers. So Intel has decided to invest $20 billion here, 2 fabs, right? 2 fabs, you need 3,000 engineers in next 3 years. A semiconductor engineer I'm talking about, right? If you look at curriculum today, doesn't matter, Ohio State, Cincinnati, Case Western, doesn't matter. Not enough. So we need a more accelerated program, right? To push education to address the issue you just mentioned. Yeah, that's the example. Just take one semiconductor example, not mention about ABCD other stuff. Yeah.
I think young people today feel like software and there's a lot of VC money sloshing around, right? And everybody wants to be a startup founder and cash in, and they don't necessarily even need an education to do that. If they know how to code and they have some, social media idea or something, that seems very attractive, and it's very hard to sort of direct young people into structured careers where they think that was yesterday, but my generation is looking at something different. So I think, just the whole social element of helping sort of young people get directed into sort of careers that would sort of benefit society and help build infrastructure, that piece of it seems to be missing. Other than from people from their parents or families sort of putting pressure on them, which doesn't always work. I think it's a bigger issue.
So the comment in the room is about young people and career direction and facing this new world. And actually, you're setting up a question that was in my mind to ask Dr. Lee. As we look at this brave new world, this digital world, as you talked about, where technology for a purpose and data and transformation of everything, not just cars, what is your advice to students on career pathing and as they're coming through high school and coming into college, what should they be thinking about?
Well, one of the things was very obvious, right? We are in the digital transformation process, so you need more data engineers, not just traditional software. Data engineers is very broad range. I mean, it supports foundry, support EV and cloud computing, many things. To answer your question about young people, I'll give you an example. Young people live in Hsinchu Science Park, the area. They work hard, of course, but they also have a great opportunity to earn more money to buy a house earlier than people working in other cities. It's true, as evidence can show. So if you look at the north side of Hsinchu, young people can afford a house probably in 6 years. But in other cities, 20 years. Right? So now if you tell American kids, hey, you can get a house in 5 years. Oh, great, where? Semiconductor, EVs, right? Silicon Valley, of course, is high-pay areas. Austin is catching up. But I believe Midwest, like, we're talking about the heartland of manufacturing, right? That's where the future need to have a good young talents to energize the new economy, a new sustainable social system. Yeah, I think that's where young people can stay, prosper, and grow. Yeah.
Thank you. Well said. The lady back in red was the second one I saw. Go ahead. In the back. Yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
My question should be very simple, but it's very important. As we know, about a week ago, Honda and GM, they announced they would have partnership on a new generation of the low-cost, high-volume EV cars to launch starting in 2027. So my question is that if Taiwan going to join them to have a partnership or play out independently? That's my first question. My second question is that what kinds of EV cars will be produced? Because GM and Honda, they say the first come two battery part of the SUVs. So what kind of play that we have? Because we keep talking about EV cars. So what kind of EV cars they will produce?
So the question is,
Well,
go ahead.
If I don't mind, I can add just something to clarify your question. It's not about the government or whoever decides. It's really about the industry drive. GM can build whatever they want, right? Mercedes built, Toyota just announced a new EV. I think the current stage, obviously, EV, as Tesla is leading the forefront because they start early, right? But obviously, in the next 10 years, you can see more players are coming in. And then that necessitates a greater collaborations between industry and the many SMEs. Taiwan is a hub of a lot of innovative SMEs with a hidden champion. Many small hidden champion. Not like, similar to Germany, but much smaller, I would say. But they are innovative, they're small, like a web support. But I think one of the things, for example, Ohio has a great famous company like Parker Hannifin, Eaton Corporation. They been making those electrical drive, but to convert to EV, you need a collaboration between those big giant and also some small innovative ones. For example, Tesla motor, supplier is a Taiwanese company. Yes. Okay. Just give example. Yeah.
We have time for one more question, and I believe you were the third person I saw in gray, the blue tie in gray. Oh no, you're there. I'm sorry. I apologize. Yeah.
Okay, I'm Alex Linax from University of Cincinnati. I work with Jay Lee. Actually, we want to convert the industry 4.0, 5.0 to healthcare, and I want to raise a question about when you look at existing U.S. and Taiwan relationship, back to 30, 40 years ago, a lot of people, entrepreneurs, they got the education from U.S. So it enhanced the tie between Taiwan and U.S. and even have an opportunity to lead Taiwan in that economic situation. But we encountered the situation. Now Taiwanese students don't come. So I worry about 30 years, we look back, say, hey, why we do not invest, try to have a system. Students, they may not want to hear to get, 2-year, 3-year, 5-year degree, but we can establish some dual degree or even summer that kind, advantage to let them to come to the U.S. And then, tie the relationship between Taiwan and U.S. Because I'm in education and I'm in the real world situation too. So I just concerned, like, this summer I need to recruit some of the students to come here. Say, I can come here for 8 months, 8 weeks. Okay. Yeah, why not? Let them explore the opportunity to be in the U.S. and they go back and we tie the education. So 30 years from now, we go back to look and say, that's a good policy. We enhance the education between two countries. That's
So-
I'd like to see ambassador to see how can we
So,
enhance the education.
yeah, so I believe the question is how can we enhance education and increase the Taiwanese students coming into the U.S. School system?
Or U.S. students.
Yeah, both ways, right? Bilateral. Yeah, it's a very good idea. But any comments?
Yeah, well, these education collaboration is actually a very important focus of our work, not only in Washington, but in the various states. Johnson Chang here of TECO Chicago has been working very hard to forge partnerships between universities. Universities, signing MOUs with their counterparts in Taiwan. Not all of it has to be government initiated. I think the government can provide that infrastructure, the platform, but there's so much momentum in the private sector and among educational institutions. So that is currently taking place. I think there are fewer Taiwanese students perhaps coming now for a number of reasons. Number one is because we have a low birth rate and there are fewer young people in general. And we need to work on that in some other ways. But the second thing is, I think a lot of the Taiwanese students of your generation, Dr. Lee's generation, came here with very good scholarships, and those were readily available. And the cost of American education, as compared to staying in Taiwan, studying in Taiwan, there is a discrepancy there. And so we'll have to find ways to support young people who do want to study here in the United States. But having said that, I am a beneficiary of American education. In fact, Ohio education. I'm all for the exchanges among young people, and especially I think as we talk about the various semiconductor institutions and academies that we are establishing in Taiwan, I think we'd also welcome American students to study in Taiwan. After all, we have 30 years of experience in building this industry, and there's a strong foundation there. And I'm just so eager to get over COVID like everyone else so that, we can again, reopen borders without quarantine and American students can come and study. And and going back to the political aspect of it all is that Taiwanese academic institutions share the value of the freedom of speech, free academic institution, just like, the same values that young Americans can enjoy here in American universities. They won't be threatened by, they won't have to censor themselves or worry about going to jail for speaking their mind. And I think that is extremely important for young people who want to explore their future. And so while we are working on bringing more Taiwanese here to the United States, we also have open doors in welcoming Americans to also have some educational experience in Taiwan.
That's great. Well, I'd like to thank all 6 of our panel members for their insights and sharing their passion and their direction, and appreciate everyone's engagement. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. That was really interesting. Thank you to all the panelists. Next, we have a very special guest, the Lieutenant Governor John Husted, who is Ohio's 66th Lieutenant Governor. He leads with a focus on economic and workforce development and has championed the administration's efforts to strengthen the economy, use technology to transform the way government operates, and build opportunity for every Ohioan. Lieutenant Governor Husted oversees the Ohio Common Sense Initiative and serves as the director of both the Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation and Innovate Ohio. He has spent the majority of his career working on economic and workforce development issues, starting in the Miami Valley as the Vice President for Economic Development for the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. Of all his responsibilities, Lieutenant Governor Husted considers his most important role as that of as a loving husband to his wife Tina and a father to Alex, Katie, and Kylie. Lieutenant Governor.
Well, good morning and welcome. Some excitement today. This is great. It's great to hear the conversation. I enjoy being here so that I can learn as well. I'd like to thank Ambassador Xiao and Director Chang for being here today. As we've discussed many times in the past, the only objection I have is that your office is not in Ohio, it's in Chicago. We welcome you to Ohio anytime, and we appreciate your engagement here. It's important that we have these types of conversations. Very important to create understanding about our domestic challenges that both nations face, that we understand our international challenges that we face in light of circumstances that constantly evolve around the world, both economic, political, and military, and that we celebrate the long alliance and relationship that the United States has had with Taiwan. It's an important reminder, it's important conversation in this busy world where we get information every day. Our focuses can often be placed on a variety of things. It is important to have these conversations on occasion to help reset, educate, and enhance those relationships. I am proud to say that Ohio is partnering with Taiwanese companies to advance innovation, high-tech innovation, and to improve the global supply chain. Very important relationships that we have with you and the companies, the Taiwanese companies, that will be important to the future of innovation. Jobs Ohio and its regional partners seek to become a U.S. partner of choice for Taiwanese companies. And that has been important to our state. It will remain important to our state. Ohio is home to 10 Taiwanese corporation establishments employing 500 workers. In addition, Jobs Ohio has 5 active leads and relationships with Taiwanese companies to maintain a positive relationship with various Taiwan-related multiplier entities, including the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office, Taiwan U.S. Industrial Cooperation and Promotion Office, and the Taiwan External Trade and Development Council. Ohio-based companies are large investors in Taiwan, including Procter & Gamble in Cincinnati and Goodyear Tire in Akron. Very important companies in Ohio who have investments in Taiwan. We are proud to note that Taipei and Cleveland, Tainan and Columbus, and New Taipei City and Cincinnati are sister cities, so that relationship is happening at the local level. It's very important, not just for the people in this room, but for many people outside of this room throughout our state and in Taiwan, to understand the nature of the relationship between our two countries. I would like to highlight a couple of investments in Ohio. Plast Pro 2000 Incorporated, a leading manufacturer of fiberglass door and building products, is creating jobs in Northeast Ohio. And Kenda Rubber, an industrial company whose president, Jimmy Yang, you just heard from. You are as a leading manufacturer and distributor of automotive tires and tubes. They recently created an additional 34 jobs and retained 44 jobs in an R&D facility in Northeast Ohio, and we thank you for your investment. You can applaud for him, Mike.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. That was great. We're going to invite everybody to take a short break. We're going to have a group photo with the Lieutenant Governor and our panelists. I'd like to invite the panelists from Panel 1 to please take seats in the chairs, and the panelists from Panel 2 to please come to the back. Again, if anybody needs to take a quick break, I would invite you to do so now. We will resume here in about 2 or 3 minutes. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We're going to get started here with the remainder of the program. I'm very excited about our next video, and I'd like to really quick just ask everybody to please be seated. Professor Lee, can we please resume with the program? Sorry to interrupt. We're running a little bit behind schedule, so I'm trying to encourage everybody to please take their seats for the next section of today's program. So unfortunately, the president and CEO of Jobs Ohio was not able to attend today, but he did send a recorded video, which I would like to now share with you all. So please, everybody have a seat, and let's enjoy the video from JP Nassif, the president of Jobs Ohio.
Ni hao. My name is JP Nassif, and I serve as President and CEO of Jobs Ohio, Ohio's private economic development corporation. On behalf of my colleagues at Jobs Ohio and our 6 regional network partners, I'd like to welcome the Taiwan U.S. Business Roundtable Forum. We share our warmest wishes as we continue a long history of partnership with your country and the state of Ohio. Whether it's sharing sister cities from Taipei to Cleveland, Tainan to Columbus, or New Taipei City to Cincinnati, our friendship has also translated into a prosperous partnership with 11 Taiwanese corporate partners employing more than 500 individuals throughout the state of Ohio. One of our Taiwanese investors, Mr. Jimmy Yang, president of Kendra Tire, is participating with us in today's event. Thank you for all that you do for Ohio, Mr. Yang. And it's not a one-way street, as Ohio-based companies such as Procter & Gamble are investors in Taiwan. Ohio is rich in history and innovation and an ideal geographic setting for making it your preferred state in the United States. Since 2011, Jobs Ohio and our partners have completed over 550 international corporate projects, creating more than 38,000 jobs and $13.5 billion in capital investment. In January, we announced the largest economic development project in Ohio's history. Intel is coming to Ohio to build its most advanced semiconductor manufacturing facility. This deal has the chance to center the global semiconductor supply chain in the American Midwest, right here in Ohio. Taiwan plays an important role in high-tech supply chains, as Taiwan accounts for roughly 70% of the global market share of semiconductor manufacturing, especially when it comes to more advanced semiconductor chips, such as smaller than 5 nanometer nodes, which are critical to the future for devices ranging from new computers to electric vehicles. Ohio has been experiencing an economic renaissance of sorts, and it's been a long time in the making. For decades, Ohio has seen its population migrate south and west. In the 90s, with NAFTA, we saw manufacturing go south of the border. And in the past 20 years, in efforts to reduce costs, many businesses centered their supply chains in Asia. But Ohioans don't run from challenges, and we have been rolling up our sleeves and doing the work required to keep Ohio on the map. And it's working, and Ohio is winning. In 2021, Jobs Ohio surpassed all-time records for new job creation, new projects won, new payroll generated, all while delivering world-class service. All of these great results are without including the big numbers from the Intel project. So as we enter 2022, we know the Intel mega project will make Ohio even more of a magnet to attract business, capital, and retain and attract talent. More and more, Ohio will be rightfully viewed as the center for the most advanced and complex manufacturing in the world. We invite you and your businesses to join us in the growth and innovation that is coming to our state. So why Ohio? There are so many reasons. Ohio is the largest producer of combustion engines and the second largest producer of transmissions in the U.S., and we're on our way to ensure the next generation of electronic vehicles and technology supporting them are made right here in our state. The automotive and technology industries offer great opportunities for increased Ohio-Taiwan collaboration and partnership. Ohio's leaders have worked diligently to make Ohio's business climate a top 10 in America. Through the creation of Jobs Ohio, Ohio structured its economic development efforts to be amongst the most effective in the USA. Nimble, with the ability to act quickly and do what is necessary to retain, expand, and attract new businesses, capital, and talent. Ohio has a uniquely diverse mix of large cities, small towns, beautiful rural areas, and an incredible quality of life. These benefits, along with our close working relationship with Governor Mike DeWine's administration and other key stakeholders around the state, are what make Ohio and the businesses who come here successful. Ohio is the perfect gateway to the United States. From Ohio, you can reach 60% of the U.S. and Canadian population in just one day's drive. Our people are talented, trained, and eager to work. We have a strong work ethic that businesses value, knowing Ohioans produce quality products and services at a lower cost. We still build things in Ohio. Ohio's economy also consists of diversified industries. We're the 7th largest state and boast the world's 21st largest economy. I look forward to seeing you in Ohio. I hope your story, your innovation, and your success will soon be part of Ohio's story too. And I promise Jobs Ohio will be a supportive, strategic, long-term partner for you. I wish you and all the attendees at today's Taiwan U.S. Business Roundtable great success. Have a wonderful day.
Great. Well, that's a tough act for me to follow, but I'm going to attempt to do so. If we could pull up the slides for again, I'm Justin Kocher. I'm the Director of International Business Development. And in addition to the tough act of following the President of Jobs Ohio, I'll be giving a talk today about the investment environment here in Ohio. I know many of you are very familiar with this, but for our online attendees, I'd like to just perhaps peel back the onion a little bit more about what JP was talking about during his video there. And I should, first of all, introduce the fact that my colleague, who's the Vice President of Strategy, Andrew Dye, is unfortunately unable to be here due to a medical emergency, so these are his slides. But I do wanted to go through them with you because he does have a long experience, in particular with Taiwan and with Foxconn. In this image here, I'm sure he would tell you about how interesting it was to work with Governor Kasich and Terry Goh of Foxconn on that pursuit of that large project. And I know the entire staff at Jobs Ohio, Ted Griffith included, we were all working overtime, and we learned a great deal throughout that experience. And we look forward to working with Foxconn moving forward. So a little bit about Jobs Ohio, for those of you who don't know. We were privatized in 2011. We are a private nonprofit, and our mission is to drive job creation and new capital investment in Ohio through business attraction, retention, and expansion efforts. So what does that mean? We're trying to grow the existing businesses here. We've heard a lot about Mr. Yang's growth here. We want to continue those efforts while attracting new companies to the state as well. And our company itself, we're funded through the state's spirituous liquor enterprise. We use the profits from the sale of liquor to support economic growth in Ohio. So when we offer incentives, that fund comes from the sales of liquor in the state of Ohio. We have over 120 staff, and we have a physical presence in over 10 international markets. So how do we work? We have about 9, call it 10, targeted sectors that we work on. The 2 that you're hearing about today are information technology and automotive, but we also work with regional partners throughout the state. So if we're hosting a company from Taiwan and they're interested in building a new plant in the Cincinnati region or the Toledo region, we will then call upon our partners, our regional partners, who know a great deal more about the specifics of the real estate and labor market in that particular area of the state. But we're all part of the same team. And this model has yielded over 2,800 projects and 500 new companies to Ohio in our time. So how are we different from some of our state peers that we compete with, whether it's Indiana, Virginia, or Florida, or others? We think our private structure is very unique. One of the reasons that we are private is that if you're a state entity, many times you're subjected to sunshine laws. If you're having a negotiation with a large company, we are not required to share the details of those negotiations, which puts us at an advantage for companies that don't want the news to be public. We also have very stable funding, as I mentioned before, through the Spirituous Liquor Enterprise. We have a bond, a 25-year bond on the sale of liquor throughout the state of Ohio, which is the only state in the United States that has an arrangement like that. And we also have statewide coverage. Now, if we look at the global investment picture here in Ohio, it is growing tremendously. We have over 1,100 employers here in Ohio that support over 300,000 jobs for Ohioans. The largest of which, as everybody probably is familiar with, is from Japan, given the Honda North America operations in Marysville and all the supply chain around that. But we also have a lot of companies throughout Europe and other parts of Asia, and we're looking forward to seeing Taiwan occupy a bigger slice of this pie here moving forward. Now, a little bit about how we've started to align our priorities a bit more with the federal priorities. There's a lot of opportunity as states across the United States have experienced the same challenges, whether it be from PPE production or semiconductors, but also in sort of the new technologies we're hearing about today of minerals and EV batteries and pharmaceuticals and APIs. So we're really trying to align our strategies more with what the federal strategies are so that we can bring some more of that federal dollar, more business here to the state of Ohio. You've probably heard about this a few times today, and you're going to hear, I think, a lot more about it moving forward. The very exciting announcement that was referenced numerous times about Intel's investment here in Ohio. It's really, really exciting because it's an industry that didn't previously exist. And there's going to be a lot of supply chain implications in terms of a number of companies that Intel is going to require to come and support them here in Ohio. Initially, it's going to be $20 billion with over 3,000 jobs and 7,000 construction jobs. But we're hoping that with the passage of the CHIPS Act, that increases dramatically. So one of our challenges from an international perspective is putting Ohio on the map for many companies. So how do we let people know about what we have here in Ohio? One of the things we've started doing recently is working with the World Economic Forum on an advanced manufacturing hub. And again, we're trying to let people know about the opportunities here in Ohio. I see a couple of other states are here on this list, but this is just a new wrinkle in what we're trying to do to get the message about Ohio out there globally. So why are companies growing here? We've heard a lot about the proximity to customers in the East Coast, the size of the state in terms of the population, the cost, and quality of life. And I'll go into those in a little bit more detail here. So why is the location of Ohio important from a proximity perspective? Well, not only from the proximity to Fortune 500s and Fortune 1000 headquarters, a truck driver, if they're going to drive, they can reach 60% of the North American population, including Canada, in a one-day drive. And that's critical. Initially, I didn't understand why this was so important because I thought, well, if you're in Indiana or Michigan or Kentucky, it's really no different. But it turns out if you just move that circle a little bit west, suddenly you can start missing major markets. And I think this red circle doesn't exactly do it justice, but the further west you go, suddenly you miss major markets that you're trying to supply, Boston or South Carolina, for example. So we're kind of ideally situated in the bullseye of sort of the eastern seaboard. We've heard a little bit about this. We have over 50 Fortune 1000 companies. We are the 7th largest state. And I think most importantly, and JP referenced this in his remarks, but we've really done a lot to improve the business climate here. And now we are ranked in the top 10 for doing business throughout various indices. Talked a little bit about the geographical advantage, but now if we look at it from a talent perspective, I mean, Ohio itself has over 200 colleges and universities, but if you're a big company, you're trying to get engineering talent or other talent, there's a lot within a very close proximity here to Ohio that we can draw from. And we have some of the most prominent university names here, either in Ohio or very close to Ohio. In terms of the cost of doing business, Ohio offers companies a great tax benefit. We don't have corporate income taxes. We don't have inventory taxes. The only tax we charge is a 0.26% gross receipts tax on sales for items inside Ohio. But if you sell it outside of Ohio, it's not taxed. And we have a very low capital gains tax. And what this means is for companies that are coming to make things in the United States, their overall cost of doing business is much lower. And then if you factor that into cost per square foot, when you compare Ohio's cities to some of the cities on the East Coast or Chicago, for example, you find that the overall operational costs are much, much lower per square foot. Real quickly, I'm running out of time, but I want to talk a little bit about the quality of life. Part of what makes businesses attracted to Ohio, if you're going to locate here, it can't just be about low cost. You have to bring employees in. Employees want to have activities such as opera, ballet, sports team, and parks. And Ohio is pretty blessed to have a lot of those different assets. Just very quickly, we have a lower cost of living in Ohio than in most of the US. And if you're a millennial home buyer and you want to get started on purchasing a home early, it's going to be much more affordable in Dayton, Akron, Columbus, or Cincinnati than you'll find, for example, in coastal cities. So we're built for the future. We're also investing a significant amount of money, both in innovation districts. Jobs Ohio has invested over $300 million in innovation districts, which is expected to leverage upwards of $6 billion of total investment. But we also put money in Jobs of Tomorrow in terms of grants for R&D centers, and also a growth capital fund, which is used as a sidecar fund for venture capital investments. Taiwanese companies are growing here in Ohio, and we'd like to ask the audience and everybody, are you next? Thank you very much for your time today, and I'd like to invite Chin Sung Chang, the Economic Division Director for TECO in Chicago. Chin Sung.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jin Song, Director of Economic Division in TECO, Chicago. Today, my topic is here you can see Select Ohio, Select Taiwan, enhancing our common values and prosperity. My job is opposite to Justin. I attract more Ohio company to invest Taiwan, so I want to show you with more Taiwan. First, my presentation had 4 parts. And why choose Taiwan? Taiwan ranked number 4 in the world best destination for investment, and number 8 in the world competitiveness. Why Taiwan is so appealing? First, you will know it. Taiwan has well-developed industrial cluster. In Hsinchu, we have world-class ICT semiconductor industry. In Taichung, we had machinery. In Tainan, we had auto parts. In Taipei, we had IC design. In Kaohsiung, it's an industrial city, so we had steel, petrochemical, and fastener. And also Taiwan had abundant R&D capacities. Here I list these excellent Taiwan Research Institute for your reference. On the right up corner, I want to particularly mention is E3, which is TSMC originate and spin-off. And it changed Taiwan into a major chip producing country in the world. And then Taiwan also had good talent. And in the IMD talent ranking, Taiwan ranked number 16. Now in Taiwan total workforce, about 53% had a bachelor degree or higher. And this is more appealing to the investors. Taiwan has strong IPR protection, and we have good regulation and good enforcement mechanism. So it ranked Taiwan as the number 6 in World Economic Freedom Index. And now talking about what is the area good for the investment opportunities, here I list these 9 areas. Later I will talk more about semiconductor and EV, so it's today's theme. And I want to mention is in last December, U.S. Department of Commerce and Taiwan Ministry of Economic Affairs has signed the Technology Trade and Investment Collaboration Framework. So under this framework, I believe in the future, Taiwan and Ohio can have more cooperation and to create more business opportunity. And talking about the semiconductor, I think you remember the number is 1, 2. So number 1, we have number 1 for foundry and packaging testing industry in Taiwan. We had a number 2 in the world for the IC design. And we had number 2 output in the world. So very soon we will reach to 21 billion output. And for the market share, easy, just remember 1. So Taiwan chip producing companies, TSMC, UMC, PSMC, VIS, in total occupied 63% of world global market share. And for TSMC alone, it's 53%. So it's a world biggest chip producing companies. And here I outline some semiconductor successful investment in Taiwan case for your reference. And now talking about the EV, Taiwan's capacity is on auto parts. The number is on the bottom, on the right. It's 70% of Tesla suppliers are Taiwanese companies. So Taiwan's strength is on battery, drive motors, and reduction gears, and power management systems. And also here later, we have a panelist that will talk about the display panel. And what is the business opportunity in Taiwan? Yeah, Taiwan had a good supply chain companies and had good technology in machinery, vehicles, and materials. So the international automakers can make good use of this advantage to expand their EV operation. And for the EV successful story, investor in Taiwan, here is 4 for your reference. And then my job is to promote the trade, promote the investment. So I want to tell you, Taiwan encourage foreign direct investment, and we offer various incentives. On the R&D, we offer up to 15% of tax deduction. And for the machinery and 5G technology, we offer up to 5% tax deduction. And we also offer these couples of the benefit that is a free import duty for the machinery that cannot produce in Taiwan and income tax exempt. And we also offer the incentives to global talents to work in Taiwan and to grow with Taiwan. Here on my side, you will see in blue, we offer this relaxed work visa and residency regulations. We provide the foreign professionals with employment golden card. Now help them to seek jobs in Taiwan. Don't need already a job to Taiwan. You just had the professional, had the skill, then you go to Taiwan, you apply it, and you can be in Taiwan to work. And everyone, I know you use YouTube a lot. And YouTube founder, which one you know? Okay, YouTube founder is called Steve Chen. Steve Chen had been working in the United States for 30 years, and he is the first one to get the gold card to work in Taiwan. Now he has a happy life there. And talking about the future, for the strong partnership for Taiwan and Ohio, here I outline these 3 areas. I thank you for adjusting to let you know that Ohio had a good investment environment and a good advanced manufacturing base, and also had Intel record high investment here. So this 3 areas, I think it's better that we had a good partnership in the future. First, to enhance the two-way investment. Now, Taiwan, Canada, Advantech, Simbank, and Foxconn had investment here, and Ohio, P&G, good year, doing business in Taiwan. I believe there is space, more space for this two-way investment. And then, the bilateral cooperation on high-tech innovation and supply chain. In this area, advanced manufacturing, which is Ohio's strength, and then machinery, 5G technology, and semiconductor. Now, Ohio want to develop. We have good foundation. In these areas, I believe, also in the EV, we had a good cooperation in the future. Yeah. And then, the third is recent. Yeah, enhance the Indo-Pacific economic framework, which is proposed by the US government last year and will be launched in this May. And I believe, and I urge you to support Taiwan to be in this framework and work with the United States and to create a supply chain security and to create more opportunity in industrial and technology cooperation. Okay, thank you. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Chin-Sung. That was great. Appreciate those remarks. Next, we're going to finalize today's programs with our second panel. That's going to talk a little bit more about sort of best practices in innovation in high-tech global supply chains. So I'd like to invite the panelists for panel 2 to come please take your seats, and also introduce former State Senator Sean O'Brien, who I learned last night during our welcome dinner is the best friend of Taiwan in Ohio. That's the title, yeah. So welcome.
Thank you. Panelists, if you want to come up. As they're making their way up here, I just want to say thank you to Jobs Ohio and the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, as well as Director General, for putting this all together. I think at this time, with the as we're seeing and talking about the revolutionary business opportunities that are happening with EV and other chip manufacturing that we're seeing in Ohio, it's an exciting time to invest in Ohio, and I think it's an exciting time to be here to talk about it. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the introductions. I'm going to let Senator Antonio, if she can,
just do it from there.
You can do it just from there.
I need a step stool. Anyway, well, good afternoon. Let's see. Still morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much to everyone who put this together and made this possible, especially the Director General and the Ambassador. It was wonderful to meet her this morning and hear from her. And to all of you for being here, for coming to Ohio, whether you're a visitor or you've been investing and living in Ohio, we want to welcome you very much. And I'm going to do something real quick because You look fabulous. And so I'm going to take your picture. Smile. I think it's important. Thank you. I think it's important that we acknowledge that it's a two-way street.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I am state senator, and I represent District 23, which is Cleveland, Lakewood, up in the North Coast, and we have some folks from Cleveland here. So thank you so much for being here. And each of us in the legislature, in the Senate, there are 33 of us, and we represent approximately 360,000 people. So just to give you an idea, it's about half a congressional district. My focus has been health policy for the most part and education. I'm a former teacher, but also am very, very interested in how we continue to diversify our economic growth and also our talent, which we'll talk about more this morning because I'm also a former teacher. So with that, I want to say thank you so much for joining us and turn it over to John. Do you have one?
I think I have one. Hello. Hi, my name is John Rossi. I'm responsible for strategic marketing for ST Microelectronics. It's a $12 billion company with a global footprint. We're headquartered in Europe. So we have a lot of connections with Taiwan as well as Ohio. First with Taiwan, we have approximately 200 people that are based in Taipei for sales and marketing. We've worked with many of the large OEMs and EMS, manufacturing services that build a lot of the consumer, computer, and other technologies in the world. We also have a location in Hsinchu, which is responsible for wafer manufacturing. So interesting is that this has been something that has grown over the last 3 years with a lot of cooperation with government in Taiwan. We also have a lot of relationships with universities, University of Taipei, University of Taiwan, where we work on innovation. So my tie to Taiwan is in augmented reality. So we've talked a lot about electronic vehicles, semiconductors. Augmented reality will be the next topic. It's the topic where we overlay computer-generated information with what we see in the real world. This is very important in the commercial sector to enhance how we bring people into the workforce for training, for adapting into new skills. But it'll also be the next generation of how we might be looking at our phone, how we look at our technology that's around us every day. We work with Quanta Computer, large company in Taiwan. And they're a great partner because they've been working on the prototypes that will allow us to basically show everyone how to use augmented reality. So ST Microelectronics has a strong foundation in all over the United States. Coming in from the airport, Abbott, on a large company right here doing manufacturing. We work with them. Procter & Gamble. While you wouldn't think semiconductors might be interesting for Procter & Gamble, that make a lot of the household items that you have, you'd be very surprised at how much semiconductors are used in that environment. So again, thank you for allowing me to be here today, and look forward to talking to you.
My name is Albert Chen, and come from Indiana, but I need to introduce in 1979, when I working for other phone company and covered the 13 states in the Midwest. So actually we have a major facility in Columbus, Ohio. So for 5 years, I has been visit Columbus probably at least 3 or 4 times a year. After that, in 2015, I take that back. In 1985, I quit a job, start a business. So I decide, I don't know about Taiwan, even though I'm original from Taiwan, educated in Taiwan. And I feel I need to grow into the United States society. So I decide not direct connect with Taiwan at that time in 1985. So I started a business and direct related to telecom. Okay, we do a lot of network design and other business with big guy, AT&T, Verizon, and you name all those big service providers. So in 2015, so I started to get into the automotive because just depend on telecom. With a big guy, it's too risky. So I acquired a company in Dayton doing the passive safety product, particularly the wire harness with a sensor for airbag and seatbelt. So that has been growing into annual production almost 30 million pieces, represent maybe 60 different car model, you name. Almost big brand all has that. So 5 years ago, Vincent sat in the last corner and myself retired and passed to the second generation. So we both, and I don't know about him, at least my wife kicked me out. So I have to do something. So I thought this time I really need to pay back to the society, particular community. So we both started two particular industries. One is renewable energy, and one is anything relating to the smart factory or automation. So the renewable energy also started changing the direction because I used to be working with a big guy. So I decided working with a small guy. When I say small guys, all the small community, whether it's a city, township, and most of the city, it's from 600 subscribers to 30,000 subscribers. And this is in Indiana. We are able to cover, at the present time, 33 communities. We build a solar array, solar farm for them. So start knowing what a small community. So back to the introduction, that is start working with a Taiwanese company. It's the first time I said, okay, how to link those two together. After that, a little bit successful. And actually, we started moving into the Ohio. Okay, so we started the cobot, and it's a collaborative robot. So find a company in Taiwan, and under the Quanta, called a Techman, and which is worldwide number 2 or number 3 production. So we work with them, and again, specific target SME. So people started thinking about a SME, nobody taking care. So we said, we decided to take care of that. How are you going to take care? We need to build the relationship besides Taiwan. It's how to develop the public-private partnership. So we decided to work in with 2 colleges. One is a community college in Indiana called Vincent University. The other one is a Purdue MEP, because we are not trying to concentrate on R&D. We try to concentrate helping the small, medium-sized business. And with the low cost and with they don't have a people, so become so successful. So we got to the Indiana's Economic Development Corporation, almost like a job one here in Ohio. Their attention, and they start to help the small, medium-sized company in a big way. And we already get a grant for the university. We also get a grant to help in the small, medium-sized business as called a fast track program. So with that, we're looking for any partner want to work in with the simple robotic and can implement relatives fast within 2 to 3 months, then you will see the result. And if don't see the result, you don't need to implement. Basic say, okay, all the equipment, all the integration, we take it back. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Simon. Simon Nip. I'm the odd one here. I'm not from Taiwan. I'm not from the U.S. So when I go to Taiwan, people say, you Americans. When I'm in the U.S., they say, you Taiwanese. I said, no, I'm actually from Hong Kong, which is a different place now. But I'm a proud owner of a U.S. citizenship, a proud owner of a Taiwan residence card. And more importantly, the Taiwanese healthcare system, I got a 健保卡, so the best healthcare. So I have been helping with Taiwanese companies go international for almost 20 years. First with China Trust Commercial Bank, 中国信托银行, KGI Group, 凯基银行, 凯基证券, and then with YY Group, 永丰余, paper company, paper factory, and now with AU Group, 友达面板. So I can share a little bit about our experience in the Taiwanese company in the US. Ambassador mentioned, right? Somehow Taiwanese company a little bit like cats. Okay, you see that? It's very true, right? Actually, one of the company I used to work for, we invest more than $1 billion in the US. It's not even in Jin Song's list. Okay, Taiwanese company, we are very low profile, even though we are very muscular cat and lots of power. One case in point, right? I'm a finance guy by training. Funding costs, some of you know, right? Funding costs in the US, funding from the bank costs how much? Citibank in the US, I think the funding costs 3%, 4%, 5%. Funding costs for us, Taiwanese company in Taiwan, 1%. Right? So we got a capital, AU Group, I think last time I looked at it, we got $3 billion cash on the balance sheet. We have net debt of negative, no debt. Right? So a lot of power for investments. I love to hear Jay Lee talking about A, B, C, D, E, F. AU is D, display. I would like to say A stand for AUO, but since F is Foxconn, I better not say it. But we made all the displays, and we try to get into A, B, C, D, E, F. AU Group now is no longer a panel screen business. We make all the panels in the world. The notebook computers, the TV, the cell phone, the watches, everywhere. We have a nice face. People say we got a display, right? Nice face, handsome look. But with no brain, that's not good. Okay, so we have been trying to get companies, give us the brain power. We acquired companies in the last few years, including a company called AD-Link in Taiwan. They made the computers for AI. NVIDIA chip, all the high-end computers, they have a good representation in the US, in Europe. So with the brain and a nice face, I think we look better now. We actually a company heavily invest in R&D. Love to talk to the schools in Ohio, collaboration. I've been working with this small school, MIT in Massachusetts, UMass system, UIUC system. Love to talk to the schools in Ohio about collaboration. AI computing is key to the future. However, in addition to A, B, C, D, E, F, I must say we also need M. Well, finance guy, M for money, right? So, one thing about Taiwanese company is if you compare, I used to work for U.S. investment bank, right? Compare the balance sheet of Taiwanese company versus other company, we're very strong. We've got lots of capital, good funding, right? So I think a lot of Taiwanese companies are looking for investments in the U.S. I not only represent AU Group, we are cats that live in groups. I also kind of help our friendly companies, our partner firm in Taiwan to look for opportunities here. Excited to be in Ohio. In Ohio, we're interested in the EV car industry. EV car, people think about autonomous car, all these things, right? Again, we acquired a company called AD-Link. We actually provided computers for autonomous driven cars. We actually sponsor the Indianapolis racing a few months ago. It's not that much fun though. You know what? Autonomous driven car, there's no driver. Electric car, there's no noise. And with our computer, there's no accident. So why do you want to drive to race? No sound, no driver, no accident, right? So, but the world is changing, and we envision the EV cars in the future. We have more interior space. If you look at Tesla, you know, right? The engine compartment is empty, right? So we imagine that the car cockpit will be all different in the future. Stay tuned. We are going to display our latest product in SID show in Oregon in May, ISC. So we will have display that is curved, all different kind of shapes for information. So we would love to talk to EV car companies, friends here, lots of potential. Okay. One last thing is hiring. I see some younger people here. If you're a student, give me the resume. We are hiring. So how to get talents. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Zach Mottel. I'm the president of Atlas Toolworks, and I also serve as the chairman of the board of a group called the Coalition for a Prosperous America. And you know, my company, founded by my great-grandfather, I'm the fourth generation of my family owning and operating the company. We're a supply chain company, right? We supply a lot of the companies that I hear talked about today. We make parts and pieces and assemblies that go into these things. And I've had a unique position, I guess, over the last 20 or 30 years. I've kind of had a front row seat of watching how trade and globalization and things have both worked and not worked. And, you know, I think it's wonderful to be in the room today with all of you and hearing these conversations talking about our shared values and our democracies and the way we can work together to strengthen global security and peace. Because I think what we did in the last 30 years, we made some mistakes, you know, and we're looking back at where our money went, particularly with the CCP China. The world hasn't become safer or more democratic or more reliable. And so we're looking for partners to invest with and do business with that help advance our values and create a safe world. I think, you know, also what I'm starting to hear, you know, my company as a supply chain company, we follow our customers, right? We don't always get to choose where we're going to be. And I'm hearing, boy, Justin, you know, your presentation, I'm in Illinois, and I noticed we weren't even on your chart of comparison. There's a reason for that, and I'm really interested to learn more about Ohio and Taiwan too. But you know, it's the trust principle. This is coming out more and more. I hear from my customers, they want to buy a product that they know is going to do what it's supposed to do, that's made the way it's supposed to be made with the right values that we all share and agree on. And I think that the United States offers the most safe and reliable place in the world to do those kind of things. And that's why we're seeing big businesses look at making investments here. That's why we're talking about building our talent network and our supply chain up, because for the past 30 years, we focused on cheap consumption. We wanted to buy cheap goods, and whatever the price was, that was the lowest price was best. Now we're talking about value. And so when we want trust, when we want value, where are we going to be making those things? It's here in the United States. It's with people like our partners in Taiwan. So I'm anxious to talk more about these things and answer any questions. You know, I can share a lot of details, but one key detail that I would talk about is government policy, right? We need to set an appealing table, just like we heard in Ohio. People are setting an appealing table to attract things, and we talk about the cost of capital. That's important as well. But you know, the dollar right now, what's going on in the world is making it a little bit harder for all of us to do our job right now. You know, we are the safe, stable democracy, and a lot of capital is coming into our treasury bills and other things for the reason of that stability. But that's driving up the price of our dollar. I saw in the Wall Street Journal an editorial yesterday talking about how we're up 20%. You know, that's a headwind against investment here in this country, and it's a headwind against exports. And I think countries that managed their currency well, countries that had industrial policy. You know, we haven't had one in the United States since Alexander Hamilton was around. We need to talk about policies that can create these kind of jobs and how we can get the dollar down. I know Senator Baldwin from Wisconsin and Senator Hawley from Missouri had the Competitive Dollar for Jobs Act. I would encourage you to look at that and those types of policies. I can speak more specifics about those policies, but that's an important one. I think there's nothing bigger preventing us from bringing more jobs and more innovation here than the overvalued dollar.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Hi, everyone. My name is Morgan Lee. I'm currently serving the director of our company, Chroma, for overseeing the global EV business development. I've been in the automotive industry for more than 25 years, and I've been for in General Motors for years, and that's what I. At the year 2019, I decided to join our my modeling company, Chroma, 智梦电子. That's why we have so many history with the Chroma when I was with General Motors. I was their customer. A little bit of history about Chroma. The Chroma was born in 1986. I started testing a little like a monitor test equipment. And after that, we grew into the multi-million-dollar company, and we have a branch office, subsidiary to go around in 180 countries. For the last 6-7 years, I've been helping them to kind of grow into the EV business. And you probably know Chroma has been helping Tesla, the first Tesla Roadster, to build their propulsion system. That's kind of a very unique experience for Chroma to start the EV business, and a lot of history going back with EV for Chroma, and especially right now we are well developed everything related to all of EV tests. I wouldn't go into that complicated the ABCDZ because I don't go that detail. There's too much to me. To me, it's just a 3+1. We have control battery, and also with propulsion system, +1 is like a charging system. So for years, Chroma has been invest heavily in R&D to build all kind of test equipment wrap around with EV. We don't build EV. We know the EV is not something you can build from one day. And a lot of startup company has been going like for years. They still haven't come out one really reliable and put into the customer hands to get to the to test on the road. So that's kind of what our business coming to. We know that all kind of EV test equipment, what we can build to help the customer to design, to test, to validate, to make sure everything will be fitting to the customer needs, and for all to fit all kind of requirement or regulations. So that's our expertise falling in, and that's what I'm always seeing with our customer, not only in Asia, which we grow heavily in Asia. We have a lot of customer doing the batteries, doing the we call the MCU, the motor control units. Also for new like chargers, the EV charger, DC fast chargers. Lots of well-known company. I wouldn't mention the name, but a lot of well-known company. They are our customers. So we know how to bring the customer into their kind of a production phase to know what they need and to make sure they will fit into all kind of a test phase to finally put into the production. So especially for the newest, the fast charging, we have all kind of latest technology we can fit into the customer needs. And on the other side, we also know we also know that we have a lot of I wouldn't say the technology shortage, but we have a lot of manpower shortage. And also, we know we cannot be the one company to carry everything on. So I'm here to look into lots of a partnership from United States, from all kind of area, not only for in this continent, also in Europe and China, or it's my modeling company in Taiwan, even in the Southeast Asia. So I'm here to hear more, to learn more about what we can come out with the better partnership, not especially in the Ohio area. That's why I'm here today. And so feel free to come talk to me about what we can create our partnership in here, and we can put the money into Ohio. That's kind of what I main purpose here. So especially for like what we try to do for the next 5 to 10 years, it's all about EV, and we know the company and it's heading. All the companies are heading to this direction, but what I'm trying to say is Chroma has been with this kind of a massive technology trend for years, and we know we still not say we are knowing everything what we need to build and what we need to build to test for the all kind of equipment to fulfill what the customer needs. So we're definitely looking for more to get into our the final phase for the production to the customer. So I'm very grateful to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Good morning, Senator. Everyone, my name is Jennifer Chang. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Noodle Inc. We are providing the electric vehicle charging network services. As of March, we already have installed in 14 states throughout the whole U.S. With a footprint in 8 countries, including the U.S., Canada, Mexico, Cayman Islands, Australia, Taiwan, Thailand as well. So actually, we are quite successful in the past 3 years because Noodle is take a very strong technology leadership. Let me just explain about the whole EV industry. As you know, everybody knows about the EV will be the main streams for the transportation evolutions. There are 3 stakeholders. The first driving force, obviously, is OEM. And as you know, Tesla is a giant. And besides Tesla, Mercedes-Benz also announced they are not just EV first. They changed the name, the slogan to be EV only. So they already announced all the Mercedes-Benz will be EV after 2025. On the other hand, Toyota also announced they create a new stream of electric vehicle called Beyond Zero. The whole branding is a BZ. So you can see all the OEM commit the EV for the whole industry. At this moment, Noodle is the strong partners with Audi, Volvo, Jaguar, and Porsche in Asia. As long as you purchase one e-tron from Audi, you will get one a home charger at home, which is manufactured 100% from Noodle. So we are actually a very strong connection and the partnership with the world-class, the heavy OEM companies right now. According to Mercedes, according to the statistics, there are more than 350 models of the car, of the EV, will be delivered by 2025. This is the data from McKinsey. So as you can see, EV is a strong commitment, not only from OEM, but also from government. As you know, President Biden, they already announced they will invest over $7.5 trillion from the infrastructure plan for the whole EV industry. So how about the second stakeholders? The second stakeholders is utility. At this moment, we already a partnership also qualify with a lot of utilities, mainly in West Coast, in California, Texas, and all the other states. But why utilities is so important? Because they need to supply electricity. In fact, EV is not just related to transportation. EV actually is a part of a smart city, which is associated with smart home, smart energy, smart parking, smart shopping, as well as all the other energy management to integrate on the smart grid. That's why utility play an extremely important role. For instance, in California, we also comply with the so-called demand response with the South California Edison. Because the weather, right? The temperature may be very, very hot in the summertime. So the electricity need to be balanced through the smart grid. So they can allow the 100,000 cars to charge simultaneously, right, on the grid system. So utility also be the second big stakeholder. So what is the third one? The third one actually is infrastructure. This is exactly a Noodle EV, our company value proposition. We are not just a manufacturer of the EV chargers, which is, you just mentioned, from AC charger to DC charger. We provide a full range of chargers among all the different scenarios. However, we also provide a very advanced third generation operating system for the cloud services of a charging network. That's the reason why we can provide over 120 currencies transactions, as well as about 130 different languages, because we also deliver the very user-friendly chargers among all the drivers and the site hosts, such as hotels or any office buildings. That's also another reason that we can expand to 8 countries so quickly, because we can provide Canadian dollars, Australian currencies, all the different, even Thai. They can use their own language to ask some questions. Then we can respond in their local language over a second, because we provide a very strong AI-driven technology for all the after services. So that is the key 3 stakeholders, which is our company proposition. Because I come from telecommunication, in fact, I am one of the key members to work with Google to launch the first Android phone we call T1. Okay, so we do see the whole industry evolution from telecommunication, where also happen for the transportation. And at this moment, for the EV industry, is still on the kind of infant stage, which means there are thousands charger operators should be ready to accommodate all the cars, be ready on the planet, right? So Noodle proposition is not to build a manufacturer of chargers. Actually, we would like to enable thousands, maybe 2,000, 5,000 charging network operators all over the world. That's why we provide a turnkey solution to enable they can provide a service upfront, but certainly powered by Noodle behind that. So we are building the whole infrastructure globally. So if anyone would like to involve or engage in this industry, just welcome to contact us. We have a very strong 3 successful cases. 3 of the companies, they just want to expand their business from solar panel to EV industry. So we provide a turnkey solution to enable their EV services within 3 months. Okay. One is in California called EVCS, another one in Canada called ChargeQuest, and another one in Australia called Commercial EV. So that is exactly the very, very critical contributor for the whole EV industries. Then we go back to Ohio, why I'm here. At this moment, we are actually have our parent company in Delaware. Then we have 2 branch offices in the U.S. One is in California, Irvine City. Another second one is in Houston, Texas. But certainly, we are looking for the next spot that will be in the Midwest. I think we just learned about if you spot here at the epicenter of the Midwest, that will cover around 68% of the population. And from our perspective, if you spot here, actually you can reach any destination for the EV charger within 3 days by truck, including Canada. That's extremely important for us to consider to set up the third spot for Noodle to be here. Actually, we set up our sales office last year in Chicago. Then we already successfully have some of the projects with a very good construction plan right now. And certainly we also already recruited our sales in Ohio, which is we expect to have more projects which we can contribute to enable EV as well in Ohio. So let me just ask one information. Do you know how many electric vehicles in Ohio State? Which is, I just did some research last night. Okay, the latest information is almost over 46,000 electric vehicles in Ohio State. I even have all the different models. The most popular model is Tesla S. 3, Tesla 3, and the second by Tesla S. I have all the different models. If you want to know the detail, you can come back to me. And actually, among all the 46,000 EV in Ohio, Columbus represents the number 1, which is about 10,000 EV okay, followed by Cleveland and Cincinnati, obviously. So the three cities represent about almost 60% of the whole state. I just want to highlight the EV will be also, kind of a rising trend in this state, which is we really have the witness from California. According to DMV information, the new car registration in 2021 in California, do you know how much a percentage come from EV? I'm talking about new car, okay, last year. Can you guess? Actually, 12% of a new car in California last year are EV, pure battery EV. And we also see this, the whole trend will happen all in the other states, including Midwest. That's why we would like to invest here, and we would like to set up the office to recruit more people, which is we already have two. Certainly, we would like to build the epicenter of logistics to reach out all the 68% of our population. This is an extremely important location for us. Then I would like to touch a little bit about the topic regarding the supply chain. I think it's the main theme for today, right? We have 5 branch offices. 2 are in the US, 1 in Taiwan, 1 in Australia, and 1 in Japan. In fact, Taiwan represents a very important contribution to us because the supply chain. Okay, we have a very strong advantage compared to all the other key players in the US because we can have a very easy access for the chipset to secure all the supplier within a very short time period of time for the procurement, assembly, as well as the manufacture. So supply chain certainly right now is an important factor to ensure your business will be engaged as well as be successful in the whole industry. So I do want to highlight that Taiwan is an important partner for anyone here from Ohio. That's the reason why we still insist to have over 100 employees, which is about 70% of employees are engineers, to ensure all the supply chain will be the advantage, okay, when you run business in the US. So I think this is my summary because I participate in telecommunication in the past about 15, 20 years, which is Taiwan represents quite an important part of the industry. I also would like to participate another very important role for EV industry through the Taiwan branding, which is Noodle EV. Thank you so much for your listening.
Thank you. Before I open up to questions, I just wanted to start first with Senator Antonio to talk about what the state offers and how does the state stay competitive in the global supply chain, as well as an announcement I think you're going to be doing in an hour from now. So.
Great, thank you. So first of all, it's interesting. Policy has been mentioned a few times, and some of the policies have a long vision. Some have a very short vision. But in 2007, one of the things that the former governor, Governor Strickland, invested in and had the legislature invest in through our budget at the time was to increase the funding for STEM education. Now, at that time, think about 2007. So they were really on the forefront of thinking ahead and knowing, I don't know that they could have been prepared for the talent shortage we have right now, but they definitely had an eye on the future. It's really important that policies, those policies from those of us who serve in the legislatures have an eye both on the present but also on the future. And so that is going to be very, very important. Part of it, as I'm sitting here listening to all of this information, is really continuing to educate our legislators and continuing to have these kinds of conversations. With that in mind, we are announcing today, later in a little bit, that we are establishing the first in Ohio of the Friendship Caucus, the Legislative Friendship Caucus with the Ohio legislators and Taiwan. And so we're very excited about that. And we have co-chairs. It's bicameral and bipartisan. So we have legislators, 2 of us from the Senate, 2 from the House. We are both Democrat and Republican, so we've got all our bases covered. And for me, that means that we create some balance. That gives balance to the working group going forward. This caucus will be open to every legislator that is interested in joining. So we're going to invite all of our colleagues to join us. But it is important for us in this time that I don't think anyone could sit here today and listen to the presentations that we've had all morning and not know that we are in a real special time, both for the state of Ohio, but for our country, and certainly in our relationship with Taiwan and the Taiwanese people, because, and moving forward with technology. We've been talking a lot. We've had the ABCs, we've had the 1, 2, 3s. You know, I'm a former teacher, and so I love this. I love the fact that we're speaking this way. Now, usually when we talk about STEM, and everybody knows it means science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? Or in the UK, they call them the maths. But STEM can also stand for supply chain, and we have a real need to increase our supply chain. And so hopefully, through the work that we do today, the connections we are making for the future, that will really improve and increase as we go forward. Policies, we're hoping that in the state of Ohio and in our legislature, if there are opportunities for us to help with that, we will be open to both educating our colleagues and moving forward in policies that help us advance supply chain. Talent, the T. Talent is an incredible need, but also we have to have our eye today and on the future. As it's been said this morning, there are incredible universities, educational opportunities throughout the state of Ohio. And I love that one of the presenters mentioned community colleges, which sometimes we forget about, but we should never forget about them, because those are the places where a lot of our working class, our adult learners are maybe looking for a second career, and we can tap into talent that perhaps we didn't think about the first time around, but is definitely important to the whole advancement of this technology. So talent is critically important. And we talked a little bit earlier about it needs to start early. And sometimes that's the other thing that we overlook. We need to be talking to junior high age kids. We need to be talking to their parents about what does this mean? What is a career in STEM look like? You can't decide you want to do something when you grow up if you don't know what's available to be working on. And again, we hope to continue to add more funding into our educational program, so we are supporting an advancement in STEM, and also just really moving down into those younger grades and really exposing our kids. And we know if you're a 3-year-old and you've got your hand on a screen, we definitely should be talking to you probably even earlier than junior high, because the kids are picking this up so much quicker than those of us that had to learn as adults, right? So definitely that part of our talent is important. Education, we've already mentioned how critical that is, and it has to continue. We talk a lot about education for talent, but I want to reinforce how important it is to educate our policymakers and to continue to have these dialogues, which takes me again back to how important the Taiwan Friendship Caucus is, because we have to keep having those conversations, bridge, educate, bring some folks along who it's maybe been a long time since they were in a classroom. Maybe some of them haven't touched technology at all. It's hard for me to believe that that's possible, but we still have some folks that are making policy that are very uncomfortable with technology. So we have to help them, guide them along, and also always acknowledging the advancements, our connection and communication, our connection to our advancement, and the fact that as democracies working together, how important our friendship, our relationships, and our advancement together and that work together is. And the last, M, manufacturing. I have been lucky enough to come to places where I've visited many of our factories, many places over the years since I've been in the legislature. I remember in one company, the gentleman introduced us. He took us into the place where they were doing welding, and he said, "It's not your dad's welding. It's not your grandfather's manufacturing or factory. It was clean and bright and nothing like I expected." My father and my uncles worked in the steel mills. This was not anything like this. I've been in steel mills that don't look like the steel mills of the past generations. That information is not always, again, available to the parents and the kids as we're talking about making things. So again, they need to be exposed to today's manufacturing. But Ohio is important in this entire conversation because making things is in our DNA. I just talked about my family. And for many of us, we understand making things. We understand what's involved, what's needed. And we have an incredible work ethic that I think we share with our Taiwanese friends, which is incredible and is going to be so important in the relationships and the collaborations that we have going forward. So I am very excited to move forward with you all. I can't believe what I've learned today just in the conversations that we've had. But continuous communication is really going to be the key for us to do this successfully together. Thank you.
We got time for maybe one brief question from the audience.
I have a question for Jennifer Chan.
Yeah.
What is your perspective with respect to the hydrogen fuel cell? I think this is a competitive technology. Japan has advocated strongly on the hydrogen fuel cell, and Ohio is building the hydrogen hubs and for clean energy.
Thank you for your asking. I think you're right. This is another competitors to electricity, okay, as a renewable energy. But I don't see the infrastructure will be so well planned because the OEM really not so support, except Japanese car at this moment. So for Noodle, our proposition actually is a green energy charging service system. So if one day that will be a very popular, certainly we can accommodate and support the new green energy as well. But I don't see that it's so ready. But I would like to say gas station may be more welcome this energy because it's a kind of a synergy, right, from the gas station at this moment.
With that, I think that we ran out of time, but I think this is a great topic, and you can see the excitement with it. I want to thank our panel. Again, I want to thank the Ohio Chamber, Jobs Ohio, and our director for putting this all together, and thank all of you for your enthusiasm and being here today. Thank you very much.
We're going to have some lunch brought in here to the tables here any minute now. So I invite you please to remain seated and enjoy some lunch. Again, thank you all. Thank you to our online guests as well as our guests in person. It's been a great day. Thank you.